Hello everyone. Today I'm excited to talk about one of the most famous sculptures in the world, David by Michelangelo. This artwork is known around the globe not just because it looks amazing, but because of what it represents. David is a masterpiece of Renaissance art that shows beauty, strength, and human confidence all in one figure. It's based on a story from the Bible, but it's also a symbol of the city of Florence where it was created. I chose this sculpture because it really stood out to me as it feels powerful, calm, and inspiring. In this presentation, I'll explain what makes David so special, who made it, how it was created, and why it still matters more than 500 years later. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of history's greatest works of art. About the artist. Michelangelo was born in 1475 in Caprice, Italy. He grew up during the Renaissance, a time when people were rediscovering art, science, and the beauty of the natural world. From a young age, he showed great talent in sculpting and drawing. He studied classical statues and the human body to improve his skills. Michelangelo was not only a sculptor, he was also a painter, poet, and architect. He created many famous works, including the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But he always said he felt most connected to sculpture. He believed that every block of marble already had a figure inside of it, and his job was to set it free. This idea shows how deeply he respected the process of creation. He was 26 years old when he began carving David, and even then he was considered a master artist. The sculpture. David is over 17 feet tall and carved from a single piece of white marble. The statue shows the biblical hero David just before he fights the giant Goliath. Most artists at the time showed David after the battle with Goliath's head at his feet, but Michelangelo chose a different moment, the calm before the storm. David is standing tall with a sling over his shoulder and a rock in his hand. His body is tense but controlled. His gaze is focused and determined. What's incredible is how real he looks. The muscles, the veins, the twist of his torso, it all is very lifelike. Michelangelo captured the perfect balance between physical power and thoughtful planning. That's what makes this sculpture so unique. It's not just about strength, but also about courage and self-awareness. Historical context. David was created between 1501 and 1504 in Florence, Italy. At that time, Florence was a small but powerful city-state surrounded by political threats. The leaders of Florence wanted a symbol that would represent their values: intelligence, independence, and strength against bigger enemies. David, from the biblical story, was a perfect fit. He defeated Goliath not with brute force, but with clever thinking and bravery. Originally, the statue was meant to be placed high on the roof of Florence Cathedral, but once people saw how amazing it was, they decided to place it in the Piazza della Signoria, the political center of the city. There, David stood as a symbol of Florence's fight for freedom and justice. It remained there for centuries before being moved to a museum to protect it from damage. Today, it stands in the Galleria dell'Accademia in Florence. Style and technique. Michelangelo used a sculpting style called contrapposto, where the figure's weight is in one leg while the other is relaxed. This makes the body look more natural and full of movement. David's pose is strong but relaxed. His left leg carries the weight, his right is slightly bent, and his torso twists just enough to make him look alive. Michelangelo also paid close attention to anatomy. He studied cadavers and classical statues to learn how muscles and bones worked under the skin. You can see the tendons in David's hands, the veins in his arms, and the way his rib cage shifts as he turns. Even the expression on his face was carefully crafted to show thought and awareness. Michelangelo believed that beauty and truth could be found in the human body, and he used this statue to prove it. Human perfection and self-confidence. One of the reasons I chose David is because of what he represents: human perfection and confidence. Michelangelo sculpted David to be the ideal man, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally too. His body is strong, balanced, and full of energy, but he's also calm and thoughtful. He's not showing off or acting aggressive, he's standing still, thinking deeply, and waiting for the right moment. This kind of quiet confidence really stands out to me as it shows that you don't need to be loud or flashy to be strong. David knows his worth, he trusts himself, and that message feels powerful even today. It reminds me that believing in your own abilities, no matter how big the challenge is one of the strongest things that a person can do. Legacy. Over 500 years later, David is still inspiring people all over the world. Millions of visitors come to Florence each year just to see the sculpture in person. It has become a symbol of courage, beauty, and freedom. Artists study it to learn about anatomy and emotion, and historians use it to understand the Renaissance better. Copies of David can be found in museums and public spaces around the world. It's been recreated in paintings, cartoons, advertisements, and even political movements. David's image has come to represent not just the city of Florence, but the idea of standing up for what you believe in. Michelangelo's work reminds us that great art doesn't just show what someone looks like, it shows who they are inside. Conclusion. In conclusion, Michelangelo's David is not just a sculpture, it's a story. It's a symbol. It's a message that still matters centuries after it was created. Through its beauty, detail, and emotion, it reminds us of the power of human creativity and strength. I learned a lot through this project, not just about Michelangelo and Renaissance art, but about how one piece of marble can speak across time. Thank you for listening, and I hope this inspired you the way that David inspired me.